What's up everyone, my name is Raz and this is my Havoc Demon Hunter No Mover guide for Midnight in World of Warcraft. We're going to be going over everything from stats, gearing, talent builds, rotation, everything you need to get started playing No Mover Havoc Demon Hunter. And there are chapters marked in the video, so if you are looking for something specific, go ahead and check out the chapters so you can skip to a section that you are looking to learn from. So the reason why I am making this guide is because I know that there are a lot of people out there who do not like mover talents and would prefer to play low or no mover versions. I also know that there are a lot of people who are new to Havoc Demon Hunter and find the movement talents incredibly intimidating, which is completely understandable being new to a class and suddenly you're having to figure out all this advanced positioning. I totally get it, so I figured this would be a good guide for anyone who's wanting to dip their toes into Havoc Demon Hunter, but you feel very intimidated by these mover builds and you want to try something a little bit simpler and a little bit different. I will note that my talent builds also do not contain Essence Break. Does anybody even like Essence Break? I actually don't know a single person who does. Let me know in the comments if you like Essence Break or not. The general consensus that I've seen out there is you either are neutral about it or you don't like it. I don't think I have ever seen a single person who actually likes Essence Break. But you won't have to worry about that for this guide because none of my talent builds include Essence Break either. Now, this is going to be a very basic high-level guide. We are not going to get into the nitty-gritty on things. I'm going to keep it very high-level and very simple just for people to get started playing Havoc Demon Hunter and playing no mover talents. And unless you're going for world record keys or if you're like a world first Hall of Fame raider, you can play no mover. I got around 3,200 IO score last season running exclusively no mover talent builds, and I am also an AOTC raider, so that is about where I was sitting for my no mover content. That all being said, let's get into the guide. First, we are going to start off with stats and gearing. For Havoc Demon Hunter, you are definitely going to want Crit Mastery. These are going to be your highest priority stats. Now, I must stress that do not stress over exact percentages for these to a point. We're talking like percentages of damage, but as long as you are just stacking your Crit Mastery, you should be generally good to go when it comes to playing both Fel Scarred and Aldrachi Reaver. And when it comes to gear, all of the gear here on the Wowhead page is going to be mostly crit mastery gear, so you can feel free to kind of loosely follow this page. These BIS lists on Wowhead really only work if you have every single one of those pieces, so don't feel bad if you don't have an exact piece listed on here. If it works for you, then it works for you if you have a piece of gear that is not on there and it's working really well for you. One thing that I am not following on this BIS list is I actually crafted a War Glaive because I am also playing Devourer Demon Hunter. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and crafting a War Glaive allows me the flexibility to play both specs. In addition to that, if you are interested in playing both specs, as a side note, you can equip gear sets here. You can see that I have gear sets for Havoc and for Devourer. My Devourer gear is all going to be haste mastery gear and gems, etc. And then my Havoc gear is all going to be crit mastery gear and gems, etc. And if you are interested in seeing Devourer content from me, please let me know in the comments below. I have been playing it a lot, so if that is something that you would also like to see, please let me know in the comments and I can work on a Devourer guide as well. As far as trinkets, the biggest thing you need to keep in mind with these trinket lists is make sure to read what each trinket does, because sometimes there can be trinkets on here that are better in single target scenarios and some that are better in AoE scenarios. However, it looks like the Algathar puzzle box is going to be kind of generally the best choice. Now, I remember playing Demon Hunter in Dragonflight and not really liking this trinket, but it is really good, so maybe I'll suck it up and I'll try it again, but it is just a base mastery increase, so it's good in any scenario, so you definitely want to try to get your hands on that. And there are some other alternatives. Just be sure to read what is going on and make sure that the trinket you are equipping is appropriate for the content you are doing, such as Raid, more single target, or Mythic Plus, which is AoE content. Alright, now that we've gone over stats and gearing, we are going to go over talent builds and rotation. So I am going to be going over both Raid and Mythic Plus scenarios, and then we are also going to cover both talent trees, which is Fel Scarred and Aldrachi Reaver. I'm going to have editing Raz off camera help with the rotation section, so let's go ahead and get started there. Alright, so we are going to be starting off with the Fel Scarred AoE build. Here it is up on the screen, and it will also be linked in the description below. But let's get into the opener for Fel Scarred Mythic Plus. Now, when you look at the opener on the Wowhead talent page, you will notice that it says to cast Blade Dance or throw Glaive before Immo Aura. So this is actually assuming that you already have Fury because you are in a dungeon, and generally you shouldn't be dropping out of Fury unless something weird happens, like you die or whatever. So this is assuming that you have Fury, but I am going to start off this rotation with no Fury just so that you can see what is going on. But the reason why it is saying to Blade Dance before Immo Aura is because of our Burning Wound talent. So, Throw Glaive leaves open wounds on your enemies, dealing damage over 15 seconds and increasing damage taken from your Immo Aura by 40%. So that is the reason why, in general, in a pull, when you're in a dungeon, always try to Blade Dance or Death Sweep before you hit your Immo Auras. And due to this other talent, Screaming Brutality, Blade Dance automatically triggers Throw Glaive on your primary target. So every time you press a Death Sweep or a Blade Dance, it is automatically throwing a Glaive, creating a wonderful synergy between that and your Burning Wound. So that is the reason for the Blade Dance or Death Sweep before Immo Aura. Okay, so now that you know why we are pressing things, let's press the things. So you can see I press a couple Immo Auras to build my Fury, and then I hit my I-Beam, and I'm going to Hunt, Death Sweep twice, and then Annihilation, Metamorphosis, Death Sweep, 1 Consuming Fire, 1 Annihilation, and then Abyssal Gaze. So the main thing with Fel Scarred is it has everything to do with what is called a Demon Surge. And what a Demon Surge is while your demon form is active, it says right here, the first cast of each empowered ability includes a Demon Surge, causing you to explode with Fel energy. So those are those big green explosions that you see here. And when it says empowered ability, that in general is going to be our Annihilation, Death Sweep, and Consuming Fire. After you I-Beam, you do enter Demon form, and you are going to get an Empowered Annihilation and Death Sweep. So make sure that after every single I-Beam that you are pressing an Annihilation and Death Sweep. And due to our Apex talent, Eternal Hunt, you are going to get 2 Death Sweeps after every I-Beam. So really, after every I-Beam, it's going to be a double Death Sweep, so just keep pressing that button, and then right after that, hit an Annihilation. And then when you are actually in Metamorphosis, the reason why we press 1 Death Sweep, 1 Consuming Fire, and 1 Annihilation is because those are all your Demon Surges. So that is making sure that you get each one out before you press your Abyssal Gaze, because your Abyssal Gaze is going to give you brand new ones again. So after Abyssal Gaze, you are going to double Death Sweep again, and then hit your Annihilation to get your Demon Surges out. So that is Fel Scarred in a nutshell. One other thing to note with our Apex talent is that the Hunt now empowers your I-Beams, and it also empowers your Abyssal Gaze. Now, I do have to say I am not a fan of this because it only empowers it for a limited amount of time, and this can create some very strange lineups. I am not a fan of this, so just remember that in your rotation, you are always hunting before your I-beam. And this will create some awkward scenarios where you are holding the hunt, waiting for your I-beam to come up. As long as your I-beam is coming up within the next 8 seconds, you can be sure to hunt because you will get that empowered I-beam in that window. But I will say that I'm not a fan of this, and that is the reason for the opener. If you will notice here, we are hunting after our I-beam. That is so that the hunt can actually empower our abyssal gaze way down here. So you'll get that huge abyssal gaze with that hunt buff, but I know that I am not perfect at doing this, so that is just another rotational thing to keep an eye out. Just keep in mind that your hunt is going to empower your I-beams and your abyssal gaze. Alright folks, next we are going to go over Aldrachi Reaver AoE build. Here is the talent build, also linked in the description. Now, there are no Demonsurges here, but instead we are going to be focusing on our Reaver's Glaive combo. So what that means is once we go into the rotation, we are generally going to be Chaos Striking and then Blade Dancing after our Reaver's Glaive, because that will increase the slashes of Blade Dance to 12 and will do some pretty good AoE damage. First we hunt, Reaver's Glaive, Immo Aura, I-beam, Annihilation, double Death Sweep, meta, Death Sweep again, I-beam, and continue on, making sure to press your Reaver's Glaive whenever it is available and doing your combo of Annihilation and then Death Sweep, or Chaos Strike and Blade Dance, whichever is available. One critical thing to always remember when playing Reaver is that the hunt will always give you a free Reaver's Glaive. So keep that in mind as you are playing and you don't want to overcap your Reaver Glaive. So let's say you have the hunt and a Reaver's Glaive up at the same time. Make sure to throw that Reaver's Glaive first, get off a combo, and then press the hunt. And I know what you're probably thinking. Earlier on we discussed how the hunt also buffs your I-beam. Yes, so there's a lot going on with the hunt right now when you are playing Reaver, and when I played Reaver in this dungeon, I do have to say it felt awkward sometimes. Holding the hunt extra times, waiting for my I-beam, but then I also had a Reaver's Glaive up. I don't know, it was weird. It was my first time playing Reaver in a dungeon with these Apex talents, and it did feel weird, and I'm sure it'll just probably take some getting used to. But yeah, just keep in mind, Hunt gives you a free Reaver's Glaive as well as buffing your I-beams, so have fun with that. Now, one of the biggest questions that I had and that I see a lot of people asking when they first started playing Reaver is what happens if your Blade Dance or Death Sweep is not up? Can you press other things in between your combo? And the answer is yes. So let's say that you want to get your Reaver's Mark out on something. You can press your Chaos Strike or your Annihilation. You can press a whole bunch of buttons in between, and then once you hit that Blade Dance or Death Sweep, your Reaver's Glaive combo will go off. You don't have to worry about pressing other things in between. It doesn't matter. Now, what happens if you change the order? What happens if you Blade Dance, Death Sweep, and then hit your Chaos Strike or Annihilation? Well, that applies multiple stacks of your Reaver's Mark and is very good in single target situations. So if you're in a dungeon and you want to do that on a single target boss fight for a little bit of extra single target damage, feel free to do that as well. Alright friends, next is the Fel Scarred single target. Here is the talents, which will also be linked in the description. The same concept applies, and the rotation is very similar to our Mythic Plus rotation. Immo Aura twice to build Fury, I-beam, Hunt, double Death Sweep, Annihilation, meta, Death Sweep, Consuming Fire, Annihilation, Abyssal Gaze. Now you'll probably notice this rotation is highly similar to the Mythic Plus one, but same concept on the Demonsurges applies. Now, if you do not know what a Demonsurge is, I did go over this in the Mythic Plus section, so if you're confused on how that works, I do have that marked in my chapters, so be sure to go back and watch the Demonsurge section so that you can understand how Fel Scarred works. Last but not least, we do have our Aldrachi Reaver raid build. Now this is going to be the one that I recommend if you are going to be raiding as a no-mover demon hunter. I have been told that the Fel Scarred one is going to be okay, but Reaver did get buffed, so if you're going to be playing Raid as a no-mover, I highly recommend that you use this talent build and this rotation. You certainly can do Fel Scarred if that is what you vibe with more, and maybe you're in a little bit more of a casual group, and you can certainly do still very good damage with it. But if you were wondering which one I recommend for Raid, it will be this build. And it is, yet again, linked in the description below. Pre-pull, Immo Aura, Hunt, Reaver's Glaive, I-Beam, Death Sweep, Annihilation, Death Sweep, Meta, Death Sweep again, I-Beam. Now, you will notice that this rotation is actually a bit different from our M+ rotation. And just like I talked about in the M+ section, our Reaver's Glaive combo is going to be that single target combo, which is the Death Sweep and then the Annihilation. Or Blade Dance and then Chaos Strike, depending on if you are in demon form or not. And then the reason why it says Death Sweep, Annihilation, Death Sweep is because of that double Death Sweep that we do get from I-Beam. And just like I mentioned in the M+ section, if you want to change up your combo, let's say you're in a raid fight and a bunch of ads spawn, you can certainly do the AoE combo, which is your Annihilation and then Death Sweep, or Chaos Strike and then Blade Dance, for those extra slashes and that big AoE damage. This is super fun to do on raid boss fights that do have ads, and it does do some pretty good damage. But that just about does it for our rotation section, folks. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below, or you can ask me live on my Twitch streams. And I'm going to leave you all with a piece of advice I left on my last guide during the midnight pre-patch. Any global is better than no global. And what I mean by that, it is always good to be pressing something. Yes, there are some major rotational mistakes that you can make, but it is always better to press a wrong global than to not press anything at all and be sitting there panicking, wondering how to recover your rotation. I promise that you will do more damage as long as you are always pressing buttons versus not pressing buttons once you realize that you made a rotational mistake. If you think you made a mistake, just move on with your life. Move on from it, remember that mistake, and just keep pressing buttons. Alright everyone, if you've made it this far, I so appreciate you watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed watching, and I will be posting more no-mover content, which includes Mythic Plus runs, raid boss kills, anything like that. I will be posting on this channel as the season progresses. And as a side note, I also do live stream on Twitch. I'm pretty much only gonna be streaming WoW for quite some time. I do stream a variety, but it is gonna be mostly WoW. You're gonna see me streaming a lot of Raid, maybe some Mythic Plus runs. So I'm going to be streaming all throughout Midnight Season 1. So be sure to go give me a follow over on Twitch. You can feel free to hop on in and say hi to me while I am live. If you already follow me on Twitch, you know that I have been playing a ton of Devourer lately. So the reason why I'm really liking Devourer, specifically the Annihilator talent tree, is because, again, Devourer is simpler to play. I would say it is not brain dead. People are wrong when they say that it is just the most brain dead spec ever. It is simpler. However, there is some nuance to it that you do need to know, but I still have been having a ton of fun with Devourer. So like I said before, if you want me to do a Devourer guide, I can do one for Raid and Mythic Plus. I can certainly do that too. Just let me know in the comments. I just don't know what the interest is, but if people would like to see that from me, just please let me know, and I can certainly do that if there is enough interest. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, whether you are brand new to Demon Hunter or you are a Demon Hunter veteran like myself. I hope you enjoy these talent builds and that you have a fantastic season in World of Warcraft Midnight. Have a great day, have a great night, great evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye!